Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Aznina, and my chosen topic for this presentation is the common derivational patterns. Before we go further into the topic, first I will explain the differences between inflectional and derivational morphemes. So basically, inflectional morphemes will only signal the grammatical functions for the words, but the words are still belong to the same lexeme. However, derivational morphemes will involve change of word classes and also meaning to the words, and they are basically from different lexemes. So word classes is the same for parts of speech and lexical categories such as pronouns, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. So we can see here how a lexeme with a derivational morpheme will equal to another lexeme, but from another word class. Like the example, from a verb, it will become a noun. However, there are also some exceptions. There are also zero-derived words where they convert word classes without any changes, and this is called conversion. So now we are going to look at the common derivational patterns for derived adverbs, derived nouns, derived verbs, and derived adjectives. Before going to them one by one, there are three terms that we need to understand. The first one is denominal, which means derived from nouns. The second one is the verbal, which means derived from verbs. And the last one is the adjectival, which means derived from adjectives. To make sure we are on the same page, here are some examples. So, denominal verbs means verbs that derive from nouns, and the adjectival nouns means nouns that derive from adjectives. The first common pattern is on the derived adverbs from adjectives. Usually, there will be an addition of ly to adjectives before forming an adverb. However, there are also conversions where, with no changes at all to the word, they can convert to another word class, such as better and fast. The next part is the pattern of derived nouns. The first one is the verbal nouns. We have agent nouns, patient nouns, instrument nouns, and action nouns under the verbal nouns. It is quite noticeable how in English language they added er and ee for agent and patient nouns from the verb. Next, we have the adjectival nouns where they added morpheme to the adjectives to form quality nouns and person nouns. Next, we have the nominal nouns, which is diminutive nouns, argumentative nouns, status nouns, inhabitant nouns, and female nouns. It is also quite remarkable that there are also other derived nouns, which, especially in science terms, which use a lot of morphemes such as itis, ate, ide, and ate for inflammatory diseases, minerals, and chemicals. Next, we are going to look at the pattern of the derived verbs. So under the verbal verbs, we have causative verbs, applicative verbs, anti-causative verbs, desiderative verbs, repetitive verbs, and reversive verbs. Next, we have the nominal verbs from noun becomes verbs. We have act like an verbs, put into an verbs, and cover with an verbs. The last one is the adjectival verbs, which is verbs from adjectives. We have factitive verbs and inchoative verbs. The difference between these two, factitive and inchoative, is for factitive, the verb is when someone or something make it like that. But for inchoative, the process was natural or happened by itself. The last pattern is for the derived adjectives. So the first one is the verbal adjectives. We have facilitative adjectives, which is having the capability of doing the verb. Then we have agentive adjectives, which is the characteristic of doing the verb. Next, we have the nominal adjectives. Um, the first one is relational adjectives, which is related to the noun. And then we have propriative adjectives, which means having the property of noun. And then we have the privative adjectives, which means lacking the noun. And the last one is material, which means material adjectives, which means made of the noun. The last one is the adjectival adjectives. The first one is attenuative adjectives, which is the lesson condition of the adjective. And then we have intensive adjectives, which is the upgraded or concentrated condition of the adjectives. And the last one is the negative adjectives, which is the opposite of the adjectives. So here are some questions to refresh our understanding. What is the process that enables words like hope converts from verb to noun? The conversion process. What does we call the adjectives that derive from nouns? The adjectival nouns. What will change the word class or parts of speech or lexical categories of a word? It is the derivational morpheme. So here is something to ponder on. What are the importances of learning these common derivational patterns? So for me, it gives me the ability to guess the meaning of new words. And also it may serve as the guidance for new words in the future. Other than that, these common derivational patterns also prove that language is systematic and organized, and we can understand more by studying these common features. We have reached the end of the presentation. Thank you